Hey, what's up guys? So uploading files and images is an important part of app development, and I realized that I don't really have any tutorials showing you guys how to properly upload images in Node.js. So in this guide we're going to explore the Multer module, which is pretty powerful and I'd say probably the most popular way to upload files locally. And I wanted to create this tutorial because the documentation for Multer, although it has a lot of information as far as the API goes, it doesn't really give you any full examples. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to just create this little application here where we can upload a file. We're using a MaterializeCSS UI, and we're going to use EJS, which is embedded JavaScript for our template engine. And we can just click this to upload a file. So we'll grab this image here and submit it, and it's just going to show down here. And if we go to the directory that this is in, which is right here, you'll see in public we have uploads, and it got uploaded. Now if you upload the same file, it'll just get renamed. You can see it has just a timestamp on the end of it. Not the most elegant solution to rename, but if we have enough time, I will show you a better way to do it. All right, and of course we did implement some safeguards, like if we just refresh this. If we try to submit without choosing a file, it'll tell us to choose a file. If we choose like a JSON file, something that's not an image, it's not going to let us. It'll give us an error. We have size limits, so I'm going to show you quite a few things with Multer. All right, so that's it. Let's go ahead and get started. Coding Dojo is a programming school that turns beginners into developers in only 14 weeks. Over 90% of their grads land jobs within 3 months of graduating, often making over $70K per year. To learn more, visit codingdojo.com or click the link in the description below. Alright guys, so don't let the fact that I'm on Linux throw you off. I actually created this on Windows. I just felt like using Linux. So this is completely cross-platform. I just have VS Code open. I have a blank folder called Node Uploads, and I'm using my integrated terminal down here. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is create a package.json file with npm init. So we're just going to go through this. Description, we'll say example for image uploading in Node. Entry point is going to be app.js, and we'll just enter through the rest. All right, so now we have our package.json file. So we're going to need a couple dependencies here. So let's do npm install -- save. We want express. We want EJS, which is the template engine we're using, really easy to set up. And then we want Multer for file uploads. Okay, those are the three dependencies that we want. All right, I'm also going to create a start script. I'm just going to replace test with start, and we'll set that to node app.js. That way you can run your application with npm start. Now, I like to use nodemon so I don't have to keep refreshing my server every time I make a change. So let's clear that out. Let's install nodemon globally. I'm on Linux, so I have to say sudo npm install -g nodemon. Obviously, if you're on Windows, you don't need to use sudo. So that'll just constantly watch our application so we don't have to keep reloading it. All right, so now let's create the main app.js file. So we'll say new file app.js. And we're just going to basically bring everything in. Now, I'm not going to be explaining like the basics of Express. You guys should probably learn that first before you start dealing with file uploads, if you don't know that already. So we're going to bring in Express, require Express. We're also going to bring in Multer. All right, let's bring in EJS, which is embedded JavaScript. That's our template engine. And we're also going to bring in the path module, which is a core Node.js module. So that's why we didn't have to install it. All right, so now we want to just init our app variable. So let's say const app equals express. And then we're gonna create a variable for our port number, which will be 3000. And then we're just going to do app.listen. This is just standard Express stuff. Pass in the port. Then we'll have an arrow function, and we're just going to console.log. We'll put a template string in here, so I'm going to use backticks. And we'll say server started on port. And since we use backticks and a template string, we can put in a money sign curly braces and then put in a variable. And we're going to put in that port variable. All right, so that should be enough to actually be able to run this. Now, since we installed nodemon, we should be able to just say nodemon. And you can see started on port 3000. We'll go to localhost 3000, and we're going to get cannot get slash. So cannot get slash just means that we don't have a route for the index page or the index route. So let's create that. Say app.get slash, and all we're going to do here is render a template. So I'm going to say res.render, and we'll render a template called index, or view I should say. Now this isn't going to work yet because we haven't set up EJS or our views. EJS is really easy to set up. We just basically need to put in one line here. We just need to set the view engine. So we'll say app.set, and we want to say view space engine, and then set that to EJS. All right. I also want to set a static folder. Okay, we're going to set it to we're going to set it to public, to a folder called public. So we can do that with app.use express.static, and we want that to be ./public. All right, so it's just going to look at, we're going to create a folder called public, and that's going to be static. So we can, for instance, we can go to, our application localhost 3000 /, and then if we had like a CSS folder in there, we could go to /CSS styles, whatever. That's where we're going to put our images. Okay, we're going to create a folder called uploads inside of the public folder. So let's go ahead and save this, and we're going to create a couple folders over here. Let's create public, and inside public we'll create uploads. All right. We'll just leave that for now. That's where our images will go. We also want to create a views folder. And inside views, we're going to create a file called index.ejs. And in here, we'll just say index view save. And then let's reload. Res is not defined. So for the app.get route, I forgot to put in request response. Okay, whenever you create a route, you need to add in your request response parameters. All right, so we'll reload, and now we get index view. So we're now loading the view. So before we go any further in app.js, let's create our view, which is going to be HTML, obviously. So I'm just going to put in some basic HTML tags using Emmet. And in here, in the title, we'll say node file uploads. I'm going to go kind of fast, guys, because I don't want this to take forever. And there is quite a bit of stuff that we need to cover. All right, so we're going to use Materialize. So let's go to MaterializeCSS. What is it? Yeah, MaterializeCSS.com. Hit Get Started, and we're going to just grab the CDN, which is right here. So this is for the CSS. We'll copy that, put it in the head tag. And then the JavaScript, which is right here, we're going to copy, and we're going to put that right above the ending body tag. Now, Materialize, the JavaScript for Materialize needs jQuery. So let's go ahead and search for jQuery CDN. This first link here. And we're going to get the minified version of jQuery 3. So we'll just need to copy this script tag here. And then we can close that up. Let's paste that right above the Materialize script. Make sure it's above it. And then that should be good as far as including scripts. So inside the body, let's put a class of container, which will move everything into the middle. Then we're going to put an h1. We'll say file upload. I cannot spell. File upload. All right, and then I'm going to go to the Materialize site, which I'm already at, and then go to components and then forms. All right, and then down here or somewhere there's a menu. This is responsive, so I'm gonna, oh no, that's not it. I guess it's not. We're looking for the file input. That's text area, select, radio buttons, checkboxes, switches. Here it is, file input. So we basically want to just grab this. All right, so we'll copy that. We'll put that right in here. And then we want to just add a couple things for the action. It's going to go to /upload. Okay, and it's going to be it's going to have a method of post. Okay, so in our app.js file, we're going to have to handle a post request to /upload. All right, now in this input right here, we need to add a name. You can call this whatever you want. I'm going to call it my image, like that. And then let's see, I'm gonna make the upload button gray, so I'm just going to add the class gray to this btn. And then we just need a submit button. So let's go down right above the ending form, and we're going to put in a button, the type of submit, give it a class of btn, save, and let's reload our app, and it should look like this. All right, now we're going to need an output for our messages. Okay, we want like file uploaded, or if it's an error, we want it to output there. So right below the H1, EJS works with a syntax like this. So an angle bracket and then percentage equals, and then we can put basically JavaScript. So we're going to use a shorthand if statement. We're going to use a ternary operator here to see if there's a message variable. All right, we're going to see if it's undefined. So we're going to say type of MSG, which will be the name of the variable. We're going to say if it's not equals to undefined, then, okay, it's a ternary operator, the question mark, then we want to display the message if it's not undefined. If it is undefined, then we want to display nothing, okay, just quotes. And then we'll go ahead and we'll end our EJS statement like that. All right, so let's save that, reload, should still work, good. So now we'll go back to our app.js. Now with Multer, we need to create a storage engine. And we're going to use something called disk storage, which is part of Multer. So right under where we brought in everything, let's say set storage engine. Now there's different ways to do different things with Multer. I'm going to show you what I think is the best way. There are, I guess you could say, easier ways, but they're not as I don't know, flexible, I guess could be the word. It's just harder to get the results you want, like to correctly display errors and stuff. So I'm going to give you the kind of the best way to do things. So we're going to create a variable called storage, and we're going to set this to multer.diskStorage. And in here we're going to pass in an object, and then this is going to take in two things: a destination, so where we want our files uploaded. In this case, it's going to be ./public/uploads, and then we want to put an ending slash. Okay, next thing we need is file name. All right, now file name is going to be a function, and this function takes in three things. It takes in a request, the actual file, and a callback. So what we need to do is we need to call this callback like that, and then the first parameter will be an error. Now we don't want an error, so we're going to say null. Second is going to be what we want to call this file. When it uploads, what do we want to name it? Now you don't want to take its original name, because if someone else uploads a file with that name, you're going to have issues. So there's a lot of different ways you could do this. First I'm going to show you the easy way, which is basically just to add a timestamp onto the file name. That way if someone else uploads the same file, it'll get renamed to whatever the timestamp is at that time. And then we're going to add an extension onto it, like JPEG or PNG, whatever it's supposed to be. That's not the most elegant way. If we have time, I'll show you a better way, but that's what we're going to do for now. So let's say first of all, we want to say file dot field name. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. I said we were going to do the original name and then the timestamp. We're actually going to do the field name, which is whatever you put here. So it'll be my image dash and then a timestamp and then the JPEG. All right, so let's say file dot field name, and then we're going to concatenate. Let's see, we're going to put in here, let's do a dash. And then, oh, I put a dot here. I've been working with PHP lately, so that's why I just did that. So then we're going to concatenate again the date. We'll say date.now, which will give us the timestamp for right now. And then we're going to add the extension. Now, this is where we use the path module. And the path module has a method called extName, or extension name. What this does is it takes in a file and it'll extract whatever the extension is, whether it's, you know, JPEG or PNG or whatever. So what we want to do is put the original file name in here, which we can get from file.originalName. So if it's a JPEG, this will give us JPEG. If it's a GIF, it'll give us GIF or whatever. And it's going to add that onto the file name. All right, so that should be all we need to do right now for this part. All right, so now that we have our storage engine set, we need to initialize the upload variable. So we're going to say const upload, and we're going to set this to Multer. And inside here, we're going to put an object, and we're going to say for the storage, we want to use our storage engine, okay, which is this right here, this variable. All right, and then down here we want to specify .single because it's a single file. You could also do array if you wanted to upload multiple images or files as arrays. And then in here it takes the name, which in our case is going to be this, my image. Okay, so whatever you use there, just like that. All right. Oh, one thing I forgot, guys, in the form here, if you're using a file or file upload, you need to add an additional attribute to the form tag. I forgot all about that. So we need to add enc type, and that needs to be set to multipart. What is it? Multipart dash form. What the hell is it? I forget. Hold on a second. I should know this. Multipart slash form data. Yeah. Multipart slash form dash data. All right. If we don't have that, it's not going to work. So make sure you put that in. All right. So now that we have .single, we passed in the field name. Now we're going to go down to our route, which we haven't created yet. It's going to be app.post /upload. All right, then we're going to put an arrow function and make sure we put our request and response. Now the reason we're using app.post is because when we submit the form, we're making a post request to /upload. So that's what we're catching right here. So just to make sure it actually submits, let's do a res.send, which just sends text to the browser, and we'll just say test. All right, so if we go over here, reload and submit, we get test, which is good. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to call the upload method. Okay, remember how we set upload up here? We can actually call that inside of our route now like this. All right, and then in here it's going to take in request, response, and then error, and we're going to set that to an arrow function like that. All right. I'm sorry, error should actually be like that. So we have request, response, and then we have our callback, which I'm using an arrow function, and that has a parameter of an error. So we want to check for the error. Okay, because if there's an error, then we basically want to re-render this template with a message. Okay, remember we have that message output right here. So it's going to look for this MSG. So what we're going to do is we're going to say res.render, and we're going to render index, should be res, and then we're just going to pass in as a second parameter an object with the message, and that message will be the error. Okay, so if there's an error, we'll re-render the template, we'll pass in the error as the message. Then we're going to put an else. So else, then for now, I just want a console log, and we should be able to get the file information through request.file. All right, and then I'll just res.send, and we'll just say test. So if we upload a file, it's just going to say test in the browser, but what we want to do is look down here because we should be logging request.file, and I want to show you what that gives us. So let's go ahead and try it. We'll grab this image here and submit, and you can see what it gives us. It gives us the field name, which is my image, gives us the original name, which is this, gives us the encoding, the mime type, which is image/JPEG, destination is public uploads, we defined that, the file name, the path, and the size. Okay, so it gives us all the stuff that we can use. Now, if you were creating a photo gallery and you connected this to, let's say, a MongoDB database through Mongoose, you could take this information and submit it to a database, and then later on you could, display all the images in your database. But we're not going that far. We're just doing the upload. Now, if we look in public, you can see that it actually got uploaded. And if we look at the title of it, of the image, it's my image, which is the field name, dash, the timestamp, and then JPEG. All right. And the reason it's named that is because that's what we defined up here in our storage engine. So we said use the field name, which is my image, dash, there's the dash, timestamp, and then the path. All right. So you can generate your image names however you want this way. Now let's say we wanted to implement a size limit. Okay, so size limit is really easy to implement. All we have to do is go down to where we have our upload right here, and in addition to storage, let's put a comma here, and we can say limits, set that to an object, and we'll say file size, and then set that to a number of bytes. All right, so what I want to set it to is 1 megabyte, which is going to be 1,000,000 bytes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, just to test it out, I'm going to put 10 bytes. So let's leave it like that and save. And then if we try to upload something that is larger than this, 10 bytes, which is basically everything, then that should invoke this error right here. Okay, we should get this error, and it should re-render the template with that message, with that error, and then we're passing that in as the message. All right, so hopefully that's clear. So I'm going to just reload this. We're going to click File, choose the same image. All right, so that didn't work. See, why didn't that work? So it did get uploaded, which I didn't want. Limits, file size. Oh, you know what? This should be a uppercase S. I think I did that before too. So I'm actually going to delete both of these images. And we'll try that again. Let's reload this. There we go. So error, file too large, and you can see that it did not get uploaded. All right, now if we want to make it so that we can only upload images, there's a little bit more work than just doing what we did here. And let me just reset. Let me put this to 1,000,000 bytes. All right. So right now, let's save that. Let's try to upload a JSON file. So we'll submit, and you can see that it actually got uploaded. Over here, it got renamed to myimage.timestamp.json, and it's a JSON file. But we don't want that to be able to happen. So I'm going to delete that, and we're going to go into app.js. Let's make this smaller. And we're going to go to our upload, and we're going to put a comma here, and then we're going to say file filter. Okay, and then we're going to set this to a function. And this is going to take in a request, the file, and the callback. Okay, just like up here, just like the file name did up here. And then it's up to us to do the check. So we can either put all the functionality in here, or we can create a custom function for this, which is what I want to do because I like to keep this small. So we'll create a function called check. Let's say check file type. And then we need to pass into that the file and the callback that comes in from here. All right, and then we'll go down here and we'll create that function. So we'll say function check file type, takes in the file and the callback. All right, so there's a couple, I mean, there's a lot of ways to do this, but what I want to do is I want to check not only the extension to make sure it's a .jpeg or a .png, but also check the mime type, because you can easily rename the extension. So I want to check both of those. So first thing I'm going to do is create an expression for the file type or the file extensions that I want. So let's say allowed extensions. We'll create a variable called file types, and we're going to set this to an expression. So regular expressions, we're going to start and end with a slash, and we're going to say this can be JPEG or JPG or PNG or GIF or GIF, however you want to say it. I say GIF. All right, so that's our expression. Now we want to check the extension. So for that, we're going to create a variable called extName, extension name. We're going to take that file types, and we're going to call the JavaScript function test, because we want to basically pass in the extension name of the file and see if it includes any of these. All right, now we can get the extension name through this file object right here. So we can say file. Actually, you know what? We want to do the same thing we did up here, where we use the path.extName and then passed in the original file name. So I'm going to copy that and put that right in there. Okay, so that's going to, like I said, it's going to look at the file extension, and it's going to match it to any of these. All right, we also want to just put this to lowercase. So right after this, we'll say .to lowercase, like that. Put some parentheses. Okay, then we want to check the mime type. So we'll say const, let's say mime type, and we'll set that to file types .test, and then in here we just want to pass in file .mime type. Okay, remember down here when it displayed all that information, mime type was one of them. All right, now what we just uploaded was a JSON file. This was the mime type, so that's not going to match any of this. I mean, if we put JSON in here, that would pass, but we don't want that. We want just images. When we uploaded the images, the mime type was this, image/JPEG, JPEG, and that's included in here, so that should pass. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Now what we want to do is just make sure that both of these, extension name and mime type, are true. So we're going to do an if, and we're going to say if mime type and extName, so if those are both true, then we want to return the callback with null as the error, and then just pass true. All right, else then we want to return the callback, or we want to call the callback, and we want to put in our error. So we're going to say error images only. Okay, so doing it like this, calling this callback with the error, that's going to fill this error right here when we actually re-render the template, and it's going to display in the index. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. Let's try it out. Let's save. Let's go back. And let's try to upload, first of all, the image. Submit. You can see over here it got uploaded. Let's try to upload the JSON file. Submit, and we get an error, images only, and it doesn't upload. All right, so that's what all of this did. It checked the extension name, it checked the MIME type. JSON does not match, so we just got an error. Okay, and you could just as well put all of this stuff in here and not, you know, use a separate function, but I think it's cleaner to have this, you know, have this lighter and not stick all this code in here. All right, so the next thing we want to do, we're just about done. The next thing we want to do is just display the image down here after we upload it. We don't want to just display test in the browser. So let's go down to our route where we're doing res.send test. We'll actually get rid of both of these. And what we want to do is we want to, oh, you know what? One thing we need to do is make it so that if we don't select a file, the form doesn't submit, we get an error. Because right now, look, I don't select anything and I submit, it still works. So we need to do that check here. So we'll say if request.file, if request.file is equal to undefined, because that's what it'll be if it's not included, then we want to res.render, just like this, and then we'll pass in for the message, we'll say error no file selected. Okay, and then we'll put an else. Then we want to still render, so we'll render the index, and then I'm going to pass in a message of file uploaded, and then I'm also going to send in the actual file so that we can put it into an image tag. So we'll say file. I'm going to use what the hell are these, backticks, so that we can put a variable in here. The location is going to be in uploads / and then we'll put in a variable of request.file.file name. Okay, file name will give us the final file name that actually was used, which would be this in that case. Okay, so let's save it. Let's give it a shot. We'll reload this. Let's try to submit without putting a file in. We get no file selected. Now before the image will actually show, we're going to render it, we're going to pass the image in, but we need to put in an image tag for it to display in. So we'll go under the form, put a line break, and then we're going to put in our image tag with a source. All right, and this is also going to have a class. We want it to be responsive. We don't want it to go out of its container, so we're going to say class img -responsive, which is a materialize class. Now for the source, we're going to do kind of what we did with, well, we are going to do what we did with the message. We're going to see if it's undefined. So I'm just going to copy that and put it in. So we're going to say if type of file is equal to undefined, then, or not equal to undefined, then we want to display file, because that's what we passed it in as. Oops. That's what we passed it in as, file. So that's what we're looking at. So let's save. Let's refresh this. And let's grab an image, submit, and there we go. That doesn't look responsive though, is it? Did I spell it right? Oh, you know what? It's responsive image. I have it backwards. All right, so let's try it again. And submit. There we go. And we get file uploaded as the message. All right, so that's going to be it, guys. Now, like I said, I am working on a video on how to upload to Amazon S3. We're going to be using the AWS SDK module, and we will be using Multer along with something called Multer S3. All right, which is a little bit more complicated than doing it, you know, like this. But this is fine. If you were to deploy to like DigitalOcean or something like that, you could use this method. If you were to push to Heroku, though, I don't believe you can upload images locally like that. You'd have to use something like S3. All right. Now you guys might want to take this further and create a little photo gallery. You know, you can get all the file information from where is it? From the request, or from this right here, this request.file, and you could stick that in a database, and then you could create another route or even use the home route and just do a fetch and display all the images. All right, so that may be something that you want to do as kind of a little side project, but I don't know, just giving you some ideas. Thanks for watching, guys. Please leave a like if you like this video. Please subscribe, and please follow me on social media. If you guys are on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, I always have the links in my description, so I would really appreciate it if you guys followed me if you're interested. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Coding Dojo is a programming school that turns beginners into developers in only 14 weeks. If you're serious about landing a career in tech but lack the formal education or background, Coding Dojo will get you there in no time. With over 3,000 graduates to date, over 90% of their grads land jobs within 3 months of graduating, often making over $70K per year at tech firms of all sizes, from companies like Google to local startups. To learn more, visit codingdojo.com or click the link in the description below.